Yo, 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 welcome to Crates 808 and another episode of our Digging in the Crates series, the Billy Woods edition. And in the hot seat, we have got a legend whose work spans more than 2 decades. I am trying to age him now on the show. A prolific producer and probably the best social media follow in hip-hop. Blockhead is in the house. How are you doing, my man?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm good. All the better for having you on and being able to nerd about Woods. Like, come on.
Yeah. I mean, what's better than that?
Look at that. There for the visuals. He's already got the backwards top on. He's repping. I love that. Yeah. I just saw he released a whole new series of hats, and I need to get one of them because England is permanently cold, so it's like I can wear it all year long. It's great. But so today it's a Billy Woods edition. So we all have like our favorite Billy Woods songs. Now, we've only done a few Wood songs, but I gave you kind of like an open floor to pick one. And you went with, well, it's an Armand Hammer song, but it actually, really is a Billy Woods kind of solo, the Eucharist. The Eucharist from 2020's Shrines, produced by Messiah Musik.
Yes.
Before I even go into the song, I've just realized this is the first time you're on the show. I actually have to ask you one of our most important questions before we do anything else, which is, what is the least hip hop thing you've done in the last 24 hours, my man?
I don't do anything hip hop on a regular basis. Probably playing the New York Times word games, I guess.
Wow.
Does that count? I do that every morning. That's like how I wake up. I do the word games in the morning just to kind of get my brain going. And the letterbox drives me insane. And that's pretty much
right. I'm trying to think of who would do that in hip hop. Maybe Jizza.
A lot of people.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Like me, I used to play Words with Friends with Mike Eagle and Icon the Mic King. And rappers are really good at word games, not surprisingly. But I think there's a lot of Wordle playing rappers.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. But I with where words are concerned, I think there's an interest there.
Mm-hmm. And what would you say is the best person you've seen play Wordle? This is a great little rabbit hole, by the way.
Mike Eagle is, just based off what I see when he posted on Twitter, is like a savant. Alaska from the Addams fam is also very good at them.
He is, yes.
Like,
that's true.
I think it is kind of a dice roll with that. Some days it's just easier than others. But this rapper Intuition is really good at it. Rappers are good at word stuff. That's what. Especially verbose rappers. Like, I'm not sure. I don't think Aesop or Woods play word games, but I bet if you put a Scrabble board in front of them, they would do well.
They're murdering it. Yeah. So if you don't take anything out of this episode on the Woods front or the Blockhead front, you can take away that rappers are good with words. And that's why we're here. We serve the hip hop community anything it may forget. So that's brilliant. I love that. But so let's get to it. The Eucharist, pretty much lauded. It's a few years old now, 2020. Yeah, so it feels like it's older than it should be, really, to me. But I realise it is one of those ones that people do name check as one of Woods' best. For you, why was that the one that you wanted to bring to the table?
It's just, first of all, I think Woods' rhyme is just incredible. And it's a short song. It's one verse. It also fades out, which is a very interesting thing. And I've asked Woods about it, and he was like, "Yeah, just the rest of it wasn't good."
No way.
He was just like, it was the most like simple. He's like, "Yeah, it just wasn't good." But wow. I'm like, it fades out on a good line. Like, everything about this verse is impeccable. I love the beat. I love how it starts one way, and then when the vocal thing comes in, it just adds a whole new element. It's one of those beats that I'm like, damn, I wish I made that beat. Like, I really felt that about this song. Really? But Woods, and I told you before we started that, like, after I picked this song, I was like, I'm not the right guy to talk about the song because of what it's about, and topically, it is very much a something that a white guy probably has no business picking apart, because it's really not about some shit I would understand as a white guy.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make the writing any less incredible. There's still, it's just like, there's no missed opportunities in this entire verse. Like it's just like Woods. I mean, Woods doesn't waste words, period.
Yeah.
But this, I mean, there's something about this verse. I just remember the first time I heard it being like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
And I ran it. And I kind of like a short song. I'm down with a short song. It's
yeah, 100%, absolutely. Especially when it cuts out the way it does. It's so sudden. Sorry, no, I was saying it's so sudden the way it does kind of just go because you're really in it's like a vortex. Oh, yeah. You're in. You're like, oh my God, like you've captured my third eye almost. I'm in.
He could have gone for another 2 minutes and I would have been so happy.
Yeah.
Like I'm just saying, this song could have gone on for a long time and I would have agreed. I would have been just as much into it as I am. But the shortness of it does really give it I don't know, it just makes it sweeter. And the re-listenability to it is huge. It's up there.
Absolutely. So if we rein it back then to like Woods as an artist himself, for you, I mean, you've been working with him for so long now. So if you can kind of cast your mind back to, or even now, how you feel about his music, what is it in his art and his music that you can't really find out elsewhere for yourself?
Woods is, I mean, I've said this before. I think I said this on Twitter before, but like Woods, and I'm biased. Hear me out. But Woods and Aesop are, for my money, the best writers in hip hop. Mm-hmm. If you strip down nothing, if you take away their flow, their voices, everything, and just you read what they say, like no one writes like either of those guys, and they're very different. They're polar opposites in how they probably approach a verse. But Woods is just an incredible writer, and then you add on top this kind of like unorthodox flow that really works. Like Woods is a guy that can rap over a beat that's like a swing rhythm, and you don't notice because he just kind of finds the pocket, and then you add his voice on, which is just like this commanding, powerful voice that is also versatile. Because on this song particularly, he's mellow. Yeah, like he's not young, and I love low, mellow voice Woods. Like when he does that, he rarely does it, but like when he does it, it's always really good. Yeah. And if you know him, that's kind of how he talks. Like he's like his talking, like he's not a loud person, but he's he's a thoughtful, a very thoughtful, funny person. yeah, in real life. I just like something about just the presentation of the lyrics in this that just really land for me, and Woods in general. Just a great writer and like a really one of a kind rapper. Like no one can really, like there's a lot of Aesop clones out there. Like a lot of people trying to rap like Aesop, and they all rap like him like 15 years ago. They don't rap like new Aesop. They rap like old Aesop.
Like Float, yeah.
Like Labor Day's Aesop. And I'm like, you don't bite that. That's but there's no Woods. No one has successfully tried to really emulate Woods because you can't really. I don't think he really. He does his own thing, and it's kind of like it's hard to bite elusive, although I've heard it has happened. I heard people biting elusive, but Woods, it's like you need the voice to do the rap, and without one, you can't have the other. Like if Woods had my voice and rapped the exact same cadence, it wouldn't be as good. Yeah, no,
in that way, he actually reminds me a little bit of Pharoah Monch back when I grew up. Yeah. Like there was no one who could really do the singy-songy and then bring in the raucousness of his voice. Like, yeah, absolutely. And that was a pun on raucous, by the way. And that was inadvertent, and that just dropped out. There you go. Raucous puns.
But you know what's funny about, not to get caught up in the weeds here, but it's funny about Monch is like, I could listen to Monch and be like, oh, I know who he listened to. Like, Monch listened to fucking Percy P. Like Monch listened to Big Daddy Kane. Like Monch had, like, there are elements of other rappers in him. Like Woods, I don't know who the fuck. I mean, I know who he listened to, but I don't hear it in his music at all. Like he is his own thing entirely. And that's not, and no disrespect to Monch. Monch is one of the best of all time, but like it just to really put more emphasis on like how original Woods is without even, I think it's just how his brain works. I don't think he's trying to be original. I just think he writes how he writes, and that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you were saying there a little bit about like how he puts his lyrics on display, especially on this song. And maybe it is just because I have been really rinsing this song a lot recently, but there's a, compared to the other songs, especially on Shrines itself, there is like this kind of slight performative nature to the way he is even just spitting some of the words. I don't know how to put it into words, really, how to put it into language, but it feels like he's actually using his voice differently. Even though it's slow and steady, it feels like he's really chewing on some of these words and letting them really land. It's hard to explain that without really...
You mean on this song specifically?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The whole like Black is beautiful, but it is like that whole bar there is I've never heard him rap like that again.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
It's like this weird thing that I don't have the lyrics in front of me, so I can't do them. But I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
like he really is playing with the format of how he would normally kick things. Like you could have kicked that 5 different ways, you know.
100. He could have been stark. He could have been like crisp, clean, hit you in the head. But it's more like this kind of stumbling. I can't believe I say mumbling. It's not really mumbling, but it's like a stumbling kind of trapeze act. It's amazing.
It's almost like there's. It doesn't sound like it, but Doom would do that too.
Yes,
like Doom would have those similar things. But I just feel like, you know, sometimes like, so I used to rap a long time ago. I was never good. But like every now and then, and this is from a shitty level of rapping, you gotta get in the zone and you write something where you're like, whoa, and like things kind of work together and like all the powers in the world unite and you have this moment. It happens with making beats for sure. But I feel like this song is a moment of that for Woods. I imagine, and I could just be fanning out here. Like he was just, when he wrote it, he was like, oh shit. Like he just kind of like it was just one thing after another, just landing perfectly. And he's just like, oh. Yeah, this is amazing.
He'd smoked the right weed before spitting that, essentially.
Well, one thing about Wood, he never smokes the wrong weed.
He never smokes the wrong weed. Yes, absolutely.
He'll tell you that himself.
Amazing. That's amazing. So, I mean, as a producer, and you've worked with him numerous times, how do you think his work ethic, his artistry, kind of pushes your artistry?
Woods is like he just gets shit done, which is something you can't say for a lot of rappers. The thing about Woods that I like as a producer is that he fully trusts in you to do your job, which is like, for me, it's like, what I want is the vocals, and then let me make a song around the vocals. And like, he allows me to do that. And because he is unorthodox, like Woods is not exactly a guy who like counts bars. Like you're not going to get, here's a 24 bar verse. Like you're going to get like a 22 bar verse. The producer, you got to kind of work around that, you know, but it's a challenge and it's fun. And also like, it's just not, it's unpredictable in a good way. And, but I just like, and he also can rap over anything. Like he's a guy that like, he's taken beats from me before. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
And then they'll take another one. I'm like, huh, really? And
is there any that you remember? Is there any beats where you're like, holy?
I mean, the Central Park beat like was just a happy pop beat almost, and he took it, and I was like, all right. Or like, please came to my show tonight. Like that. A lot of the beats on the albums we did were unpredictable. But also, if you like have a song, say like with another person, you're like, here's the beat. He'll just, you know, he's gonna deliver on it. Yeah. You know? Yeah. Like with the on the Aux AAU tournaments, like that beat, Navy Blue had picked that beat. And I was just like, here it is. And he's like, this is a beat. And he's like, all right. But the verse he kicks is fucking one of my favorite verses on the whole album. So, you know, the guy, he doesn't half-ass it, and he's a professional, you know? Yeah. I wonder if that's a challenge. You know, when you work with someone who's just like so on it, does that kind of push your game to be like, well, I shouldn't really slip. I should keep, I don't know. Does it push you in that way at all? I mean, for me, it's not a matter of pushing, because like with me, I'm like, here's some beats, pick what you want. Picks the beats, and then he makes the song. So my job's done before. I mean, the hard part of my job is done before he's even picked a beat, because I've already have the beats. Like I don't, you know, my beats are like fully formed things when I'm like, you know, like, I mean, it's more about moving the parts around and figuring out where everything goes. So yeah, it's not a challenge. Like working with rappers is never a challenge in that respect. The challenge working with rappers is getting them to rap. Yeah. Get them to do their job, is what you're saying, is do your job. Yeah. But Woods is not one of those guys. He's not a guy that you really worry about. I mean, that's testament. The proof is in the pudding, man. Like, just look at his work in the last 10 years, and you're looking at probably one of the strongest discographies in hip hop generally, aren't you? Really, I would have thought. No break. No break. Just like
Yeah.
3 releases a year of some sort, touring constantly, never dipping in quality. It's not like he's made that. I was like, oh, that album sucked. Like there has not been that album with him on any, like no Armand Hammer album like that. No, like it is just quality, you know.
Sometimes it's so good, right? I do sometimes kind of catch myself like and think, hold on, is it just because we're in the mix and I've kind of followed him maybe from Paraffin Rome time, so I wasn't even there from Jump. But obviously you go back and you start listening to it from Jump and you're like, it isn't just me, is it? Like, it is ridiculous how it is so consistently of that kind of level. And I just can't really, I mean, he's kind of incomparable anyway. Maybe that's the whole point of it all. You can't really compare it to anyone else. It's mad. But in that like canon he's got now, that catalogue that he's got, how do you think he's kind of developed and evolved his craft and art? Can you see like a bit of an arc for him?
I mean, I think he's never taking steps backwards. I think he's always pushing himself. He's always trying to work with different producers. And when he works with different producers, he's finding a different sound with them. And it's not about like, oh, I'm going to elevate my sound here. It's like, I'm going to make this kind of album. Like the new Armand Hammer album, granted, it's a bunch of different producers, but like it's super avant-garde and like and minimal. I mean, minimal is a weird term for it, but it's out. It's a bugged out album. And then you got the Armand Hammer album with Alchemist, which is like a more straightforward, but still weird album, you know. And then you got him with Kenny Siegel, and it's straightforward. It's drums, you know, like it's all and the Messiah Monk stuff. Like he's able to just adjust to whatever it is, you know. And it all works, you know. It all works in the end, you know.
Yeah, it's weird because his evolution kind of comes with just, I suppose, like just going with different collaborators and seeing what pulls him out, what stuff pulls his art to different directions. It's amazing, actually, like that. I mean, you've been in that camp for a while now, backwards, and you're repping it hard today, which I love to see. Yep. What for you is so special about that camp at the moment? Like being in there, dropping something last year, which is incredible. Like how has it been for you? What's so special about that for you?
I mean, you know, it's like the new movement of underground rap that is like similar to the movement I came up in. And Woods and I are the same age. We're not like, you know, it's not like this young upstart. Like he's been around for fucking a long time. But I don't know. It's just a mindset, I guess. Like no one's trying to blow up, you know, like that idea. Right. Like it's very much like we're making, there's an artistry to it that is nice to see. And not to say that there aren't other indie labels doing that, but I think that as time goes on and as Woods has kind of garnered more, well, and Armand Hammer for that matter, have garnered more critical acclaim. They're meeting other rappers who are also kind of elite rappers, and they're leveling up in a way that the best possible way, because it's like you can work with this guy. Yeah. And you can work like, I got Makami on this song. I got like Boldy James in this song. Like that's great. Whereas like, you know, 15 years ago, he had to pay, whoever, you know, like Rock Marciano, who's a big name, obviously, but it wasn't people he was peers with as much as people he liked. And now it's like there's a mutual respect, I think, to them and all the other people on that level. Like they're a name that people know. You know, and it's great to see it have grown to that after all these years, because it really wasn't, you know, 10 years ago, Backwoods was just like, oh, it's another, you know. When we put out our album, I was like, oh, you know, it's just whatever.
Do you remember where there was a point when maybe it kind of shapeshifted a little bit, or like it scaled up a bit?
I would say the Armand Hammer Alchemist album was the first, where it was just like, and then the last. I mean, granted, the last Armand Hammer album wasn't on Backwoods, but it's still a Backwoods, you know, even though it's not on Backwoods, it's still
a Backwoods
fan, the one following it. I would say, the Alchemist one was a level up. Like that's just knowing him when he was touring and seeing how his kind of just like the venues he started playing were bigger. Like I knew, like I was like, oh shit, I know that venue, you know, like, like it, you know, it was, you see the rise, and going to the shows. Yeah. I remember going to shows that were like, you know, half full. And now it's like packed to the gills with like lunatics singing his lyrics to him. in the front row, and it reminds me of Def Jux era ASAP, as far as like or that era of indie rap where like people were really just in it, and you know, huge fans, and it's awesome to see. It's great to see.
Oh, it's beautiful, man. It's absolutely beautiful. It just makes my heart full, because I remember going to these gigs where they were half full in the UK, and, you know, following some maybe the UK rappers that weren't getting, like, Jess gigs were always big. I'm not sure how far up you are onto your UK hip hop, but there's like these ideas of this community's only way it's going to go forward is if we stick together and keep doing this shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I'm not anywhere near an artist. All I can do is turn up and support, and that's literally, you know, when I had the time, effort, and no child, and work wasn't kicking my ass, I could do that stuff a lot more. But yeah, no, it's a beautiful thing to see. And another, this is actually, I'm just going to pull from something I was reading the other day. Big up Cabbages, because they're doing the God's work out there. And there was a great interview with, and that kind of reflects what you were saying about no one's trying to blow up, because it feels and sounds like a kind of environment where there's a lot of trust. There's like an open dialogue, which is kind of essential to this work. And he was talking about the Eucharist in particular, and he said, I was writing and frustrated at certain points how the recording process was going for it.
This is Woods talking?
Yeah, this is Woods.
Okay.
Yeah, through Cabbages. And he said, Willie Green and Lucid both convinced me you should just end the song right there. And at the time I felt kind of disappointed in myself. So it's like your peers are kind of like helping you out and just kind of pulling you up. And he said, thank God everyone stopped me. It was like an extra, I think he says here, 6 bars that I didn't just look how they were, I didn't like how they were landing. And I later realized that's perfect. That's a perfect ending.
Curious. It gives it a mystery, which no one ever, I mean, there have been rap songs where they fade out while the guy's rapping, but never something like, I don't know, never that kind of song. I don't know, there's something about like, because he's going off this entire time. Yeah. And then you're like, where are you going?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like the end of Sopranos. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And it's the end of the album as well. So you're like, I'm on this journey, and now you've ended the journey. What? And it felt a little bit like a troll. I'm not gonna lie. The first time I heard it, I was like, are they just winding me up here? But then you do get them, because like you said, it is actually still so packed full of ideas, and like it just, you could unpack it for ages. So maybe he did us all a service and didn't give us an extra 2 minutes where you know, we would just be twisting ourselves in pretzels trying to figure out what else is going to happen in this man's life, how he's thrown it to us. But yeah, no, I mean, we can go into a bit more of this. I have a few more ideas about the song, but Woods as an artist, I just wanted to ask you, as someone who's seen his kind of trajectory, how do you think his last 10 years would be remembered in another 10 years, would you say?
As one of the greatest runs in the history of underground rap. Because he's not going to get the credit of the big guys, because when it comes down to it, like the most, I mean, if we're talking most, when I talk about, you know, the population of hip hop fans who are like, they listen to like J. Cole, Drake, and like, I mean, no disrespect to any of those guys, like, but that's most fans of hip hop. They hear Woods and they're like, what is this? Like, you know, they can't even compute it, let alone the words and ideas, but they're just like, why does he rap like that? Like, you know, like, it's so like that cancels out most people. You know? But that's what makes him underground, and that's what makes him like a niche thing that is special to so many people. But I think that his fan base and people who are in the zeitgeist of backwoods, and or even just kind of, you know, like people who are like Quelly Chris fans, and people who are you know, Danny Brown fans, even some of them maybe. But like there will be a recognition that he had a run that was just like unlike anyone else's. I think Ka will similarly be regarded, but on a smaller level, because Woods is bigger than him. I think A$AP will be regarded in that way too. I think that like there's just some guys who just are Quelly Chris. I mean, there's a lot of dudes who are not faltering with their artistry right now, and like it's not even a matter, like they won't allow themselves to fall off.
Absolutely,
they're real artists, and like that's missing. That has been missing in hip hop for a while. So it's nice to see. And I think he will be in a Hall of Fame of sorts.
Yeah, no wonder.
But-
I'm absolutely with you. I'm absolutely, as long as there's more and more people like us that kind of keep giving it the flowers, if you know what I mean. I think there's that because I was looking
100,000 people that think he had the best run of all time in the world. You know what I mean? Like, and that's amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible. It is absolutely, you're right. It is incredible. We shouldn't sleep on that. Absolutely. And I was just trying to think about if I could compare it to anyone else's run or whatever. And I just found myself thinking, well, you can't really compare it in the whole tapestry of hip hop, like from Jump. There was never this proliferation, this kind of the amount of like look at yourself, like how prolific people can be today just wasn't the same. And this is a 90s podcast, so we talk a lot about like some of these people being signed to majors and they only get that one drop a year or every few
they didn't
years.
have a run. None of those guys had a 15-year run.
Yeah,
definitely not. Like my favorite rappers probably had 6 years where they were awesome.
Yeah,
like literally like rappers that I grew up, like if you're talking 90s, like I fucking love De La Soul. I love Cool G Rap. I love, like, they all have like 4 good albums. I mean, then they have like decent albums, but like a 10-year run is insane.
Yeah.
A 15-year like of just no duds. That and I think it's because things have changed and there's not record labels behind it. There's not put out more music. You kind of control your own destiny more now than you did back then. Yeah. I think record labels fucked a lot of those artists back then as far as like, with their creativity. But like, I think, do I think Cool G Rap could have made like 7 good albums in 7 years? Yeah. But he didn't.
But if the machinery maybe was there, or the kind of environment, biosphere, whatever hip hop was like back then.
We need a hit. We need a hit. We need a single. Like nothing about any backwoods releases. We need a single.
Yeah.
It's like we pick the album, then we pick the single, and oftentimes it's like a weird mellow song or something. It's like it doesn't make sense, or because it's I mean the thing now is streams and getting your shit on playlists, and I don't think they care about that much either, because like their fan base is going to eat up whatever it is they put out anyway, and they're also going to be on the ball about when it comes out. It's a very engaged fan base.
Yeah, I've got to big up Rock Marcy for a minute, because this makes me think about when I first got into rock and hearing how he went that whole direct to consumer almost. It's like, oh, what? I can just get it like this. This is so amazing. And the merch, mate, I as you can probably see, I love my merch. So it's like, to just be able to be like, oh, I don't have to, I don't know. You could never really get good Biggie tops back in the day that fit me. So it was you always rip off ones in like some nook corner of London. But I mean, you look at just the way they've kind of expanded their whole work ethic to go not just into the music but also the merch and the touring and all that. It's amazing, man. Absolutely. I'm actually going to dip into the chat. Let's see, people are in here. We have got Woods, this is Free Music Empire, big up Dano. He just said Woods hasn't got the buttery Blockhead tone of voice, which is nice to know that they've even compared on that level.
Well, yeah, that's the reason I stopped rapping.
Yeah, and he said Percy P is a great call. Well, it is a great call. That's a good shout, absolutely. Blockhead is 39% better at producing than most people understand. 39% being a weird number there, and yeah. I can
compare 39% better than what people understand. All right, yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's get back into the song, because I don't want to get. If I go into the weeds of the chat, then it could go anywhere. We could be back talking about Wordle again. But if we look at this song, then here's one. This is a nice little Eucharist comes on for you. Perfect setting for that song. What would it be? You could take a minute to think.
I mean, it's weird. I mostly listen to music in headphones when I'm walking around the city. That's like when I get most of my music listening. Like in my house, I don't listen to a lot of music because I'm either making it or I'm falling asleep.
So sorry, man. I do not know what's happening there. It just everything went down. But yes, are we good? Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yeah. I'm just trying to. Why the fuck can't I see you? Why am I not here? Where would I be? How do I turn my face on?
So how do I turn my?
Wait, start video? No.
Yeah.
What am I looking?
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh. Okay. Yeah.
We're going to talk about song titles in a bit, but how do I? I'm gonna have to now somehow. Yeah. or he's having an aneurysm, or something's going wrong. No, I know where we were. But just so we know, we're going to talk about song titles in a bit. But is this Have I Turned My Face On? Has to be a song title now at some point for you, because that's just made me really giggle. But yeah, no, yeah, that's it.
Well, actually, it's good. It gave me time because I pulled up the lyrics to the song because I was like, I should probably. Yeah, that's probably a smart thing to do.
Oh, perfect. Brilliant. Okay. Yes. I'm really sorry about that. But yeah, we're back up and running. I was asking you actually the perfect setting for this song, and you were saying headphones.
I was okay. Oh, so I got cut off early. I was saying that I listen to music walking around mostly. Like that's when I listen to music in headphones. And Eucharist is a great winter song, walking around New York City in headphones. But also, it's not a bad summer song because the beat is kind of chill. Like it really fills a lot of holes, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That beat is a really like looking at that beat, and I know we've talked about Woods a lot, but big up, like you said, you put it right at the front, and coming from you, that's huge. Like you wish you'd made this beat.
Oh yeah, I love a good sample layer, man, and the way he just like you know the original like the loop that starts. It's a cool loop. It's just kind of like, all right. It's just kind of there. And then the singing comes in and you're like, oh, and it just kind of takes it to this other level, which is something I really appreciate from production because, you know, we're in the era of like loop and that's it. You know, like it's a loop era, which again, that shit works. There's great loop producers, but like it is nice to see a little like execution sometimes, you know.
No, 100%, absolutely. A little bit of, like you said, layering, and a little bit of like a journey of a song, if you know what I mean. Because when I first heard it, it kind of alludes, the whole song kind of alludes categorization. Like, I don't know how I would put it into words. If someone came up to me and were like, oh, what's that? What's it like? What's it sound like? I don't know if I could really put it into words. I mean, maybe you're better than me with that, but I mean,
no, I wouldn't know how to explain it either.
Yeah, it's really, you just got to hear it. And it does sound a bit like a kind of tractor beam kind of pulling you in. It's like, it's like the kind of weird it kind of pulls me into its orbit. It's amazing. And
there's something about the vocal sample that really fits the lyrics because it's kind of almost like a religious sounding, like wailing. And not that this album is, I mean, the song is like entirely about religion, but it covers a lot of, you know, I mean, it's the undertones of it. It just fits so well with the vocal sample to me.
Yeah.
And when those two things combine in a good way, it's a rare treat, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And then the idea to put it, like we talked earlier about how it was like just a great finisher. And there have been some great album finishers in the past.
Yeah.
But the way it kind of summed up my feeling of, maybe I'm just over intellectualizing this, actually thinking about it now. Maybe I've smoked the wrong weed, because I'm thinking like it's the 2020 was so enormous, and this kind of ended in that moment of like, just, it was a bit of confusion, it's not a stable ending. I'm still a little bit like, oh, what's happening to the whole album? And it just kind of felt like that. If I pull back, that whole time was unstable. So it kind of works really well on that kind of front as well.
The chaos hasn't ended.
Yeah, the chaos hasn't ended. You're right. It's still there.
We're still in it, you know. I think it's a mistake, to be honest with you.
Oh no, don't say that.
I don't think we're getting out of that anytime soon. But hey, but Woods is a great voice for that. So it's convenient.
Yeah, maybe that's how he'll be remembered a bit more, because it feels like it has been the soundtrack. Let's say everything started going to shit for a while, really, hasn't it? 2015, 2016, it's been quite bad for a while. So I think maybe I'm not kind of put them as the soundtrack to it, but they've been a very prevalent commentary on it. Like, they have regular music, Armand Hammer have regular music, Woods has regular music, and it never shirks away from making me think about the present, if you know what I mean, as well as the past, you know?
Well, especially, which is crazy because he's a guy who has a boundless knowledge of history.
Yes.
I mean, I am a stupid college dropout who knows nothing about anything. And like, he mentions things where I'm like, what are you talking about? Especially like, I mean, he's, you know, he grew up in Africa, he was in Africa. Or maybe he wasn't, but he lived in Africa. He knows a lot about African politics. He brings it up a lot, but he also knows just about politics in general. And he weaves it into his stuff, but he'll weave it in between like football references and like, you know, obscure hip hop references. I mean, this song alone, just like the Pyrex Violent, the group home, Living Proof, like,
come on,
that's a specific thing, you know, that's a very specific thing. And but at the same time, he's talking, you know, I don't know if he mentions any like names in this. Maybe not. No, but like political names. But usually there's people I'm just like, who are you talking about? But that's, you know.
Yeah, no, he does do that, and that it just makes me want to dig further. There'll be someone, who was his neighbour? Do you know what I mean? There's like, who's Wood's neighbour? And there's like all these little moments where it just makes you want to dig more and more if you're a bit of a geek.
I always feel smart because I get the rap and sports references.
Yeah,
like I get those all because like I am of that era. We're of the same age, of the same era. Like like both listen to similar music. Like very subtle, nuanced takes on things that anyone who's like under 40 will be like, what are you talking about?
yeah.
And I like it, you know, I like that, you know.
I think it doesn't help, like he doesn't care about the exclusion of, it's like there's a lot of applied knowledge, like you have to just be like assume knowledge on some of this stuff, and I think it just works really well. But I was just going to go back to, actually there was one moment we talked about with his plan for this song. I wondered if I could put this to you as well and see what you think to this. And again, he's talking to Cabbages on this as a finisher. This was like, you know, obviously the song that we talked about that closes the album, and he said it was actually one of the first songs we did before the album had a theme or anything like that, so it was thoroughly put through the examination point on the record and the theme and everything in a way that there's no way I could have envisioned when I was trying to do it. Not only that, when I was originally trying to do it, I was trying to have a different end piece that, thank the Lord, didn't even come to pass. So I feel like there's this kind of artistic decision making that you could probably have more of a, you know, voice on than I can, but it feels like art is thriving. People are like really just going for it. Do you know what I mean? It's amazing. Yeah.
I'm sorry, go on. I was going to say in respect to last songs on albums, they are so important to people who really make albums. And the irony of the last song on albums is they are the least heard song on every album because of streaming services. And like, like I'm a person, like I know I'm this way. I mean, I just know what the people I work with. I know Woods is this way. I know ASAP's this way. I know I'm this way. Like my last song is always a statement song. And like, his last, they're all of them. It's like here's the wrap up. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And because of streaming, but also like I imagine it wasn't that different when CDs or in tapes were existing. You know, but like the last song gets the least attention unless it's a single, and but often the last song is like the anchor of the entire thing. And I think that's like when we're putting together albums and we're figuring out what song goes where. We know what the first song is, we know what the last song is, and everything else just is kind of cobbled together. But like the first and last are always these very planned things. I think for anyone who makes albums. So it's funny when I hear like an album by some rapper, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Like what is this last song? Or like, what is this first song? You started with this? Like it's weird to me when it feels like there's other hands in there moving things around.
Yeah, I know people. You've just said it right there. People talk about how the album is kind of died, and you know, it is a platform kind of like streaming platform kind of playlist vibe, which, like you said, we're a big community, so the top level might be true, but I think at our level, like yourself, there are people out there who are literally thinking that through, like it's a journey of a record, and it just harks back to what we were like. But then that extends to like music videos. So I was looking at them, so I do remember this as a music video. The Eucharist did come out.
Yeah, I never saw the video. Oh, I didn't know there was a.
But it was split, so this is why I was a bit mixed up.
Okay, yeah, because Lucid had a solo song too.
Solarium, I think it's Solarium.
Yeah. But there, okay, yeah. You know what? You're right. I did see it. I forgot it existed.
No, but it's true. Like, I mean, nowadays there's proliferation, so much stuff that I see, and I had to go back to check it just to make sure. I do remember there being something. I'd actually forgotten how good that video is. And
is it animated?
Yeah,
Elusive's part is animated, right?
Yes, Elusive's part is animated, and then Woods comes in with like this amazing animated filter over him, but like there's people's eyes going over the top. And it's just, it really extends his personality brilliantly. Because like you said, he has these incredible references and he's only showing the eyes of them. And that's what, again, it just kind of extends that whole artistry for me now. And I love that. But we are going to dip into some of these bars. I have to do this with you as they are jam-packed. And always everyone out there who's listening, do remember what Blockhead said at the beginning of this. We might not be the best people to really talk about this stuff, but it's art and it's come to our doorstep, so we could convey our feelings, I suppose.
There's relatable parts of this song, and then there's parts that are just like I have to just kind of admire.
Yes.
And those are the parts like, you know, black is beautiful, brother, but it ain't super cool. Like, hey man, I don't know that. But it is an incredible bar. Like that is I mean, when I heard that, I was like, what? Like, it's one of the, like what I was saying earlier about him, like hitting the zone when he was writing. I'm like, you write that bar, like you got to be like, God damn, that's a crazy line. I just came up with a crazy line right there. Like, it says so much in a sentence.
Yes.
And it's like that Woods, I mean, Christianity is cultural appropriation. Like, that's a fucking beginning of an essay. That's so loaded. It's funny because I always think it's the smallest bits that he does. They're like splinters. It's not the whole piece. It's a splinter of that piece, but it kind of wedges itself into your brain. He does it continuously through all his music. Like there's always a moment where I'm like, what? That's mad. And let me just sit with that for a second. But he's also, on this song less, but on other songs, it does kind of cascade at you, these things. And you're like, I can't, and you can't get it on the first listen. It's too much. He's not a first listen guy.
No. I was just gonna say, when I first heard this, I was reeling from the Jay-Z bar. Like that's what did me in to begin with. I couldn't even.
Well, so you mean where he says the Jay
listen to the evils,
the devil, or skim through it, and then I took a shine to him and turned Jewish. Like that shit was amazing. That's such an amazing line, and also the Mace line. And I asked, because there's a double word meaning there.
Yes.
Where, you know, he's like Mason Betha came out the church like Satan, burst out the house of worship with the things flaming. No amen.
No amen.
I remember texting, I'm like, is he saying no amen or no aiming? And then Woods was like, it's both. I was like, that's fucking great. That's so good. It's so good.
It's so rewarding. You know, when you're sitting there like, what? Because remember, the precursor to the Mace bar is the Christianity is cultural appropriation bar. Yeah, which the atheist in me who's grew up in a really religious background, anytime someone's pushing them buttons for me, it's evokes, you know, something.
Same.
Exactly. Yeah. And you're like, this evokes something from me. And there's not just immaculate wordplay, but it's the connotations of everything. It's not just, it's so loaded. Everything's just so loaded. Like the Jay-Z line's sick. It's a great line. But it's also really pointed and sharp about where Jay-Z stands in hip-hop nowadays. Like, there is a lot of stuff aimed at him and a lot of people are pointing their finger at him. And Woods just does his little moment, doesn't dwell on it, just bang. I'm going to put that in there. Now you can have a conversation about it. And a lot of conversation starters in this song, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. And it's like these like little mini critiques.
Yes.
It's like but it's so slickly done.
Mm.
Like, wait, because Woods, you know, as a guy, has a lot of opinions. Like Woods is a very smart guy. Woods is, you know, he's not a small thinker. You know, so when he says, you know, the Jay-Z line, it's like I'm like, dude, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Or even the Mace line. It's like, to know what Mace became later, he becomes and kind of, you know, there's so much referential things that go into that. Makes you think. I mean, if you're aware of these things, you're like, oh shit, and it just kind of it swirls around, and it really just adds so much weight to what he's saying, even though it is one line that's just like a little, you know, and
yeah. 100%, absolutely. There's so many of them. The entendres, the triple entendres, double entendres. It's like this 90s head has got all these brilliant references, but then weds them to like socio-political commentary. You're like, how have you put group homes living proof with the Pyrex violin. What's the first? No, do you know what? This only clicked as a re-listen, and I didn't even get that bit.
Pyrex violin, the group home living proof, like dying and coming back black as a dead tooth.
As a dead tooth, yeah. And the one before it though, bro, where he says
pilot silent, and that's a signal too.
Signal too, but it's like the pilot silent, but it's the pilot silent. I was thinking, and is he talking about a pilot like? Because then he talks about Pyrex.
I think it's a pilot. Yeah.
And I was like, there's a signal. These moments were just, I think there's one that really got me, because you're, as an underground head who you've been active in this community for so long, there's this personal history to Woods that he loves to bring to stuff. And there's one moment in this where he says he's the aloof Posthumous, which is great. Like,
yeah, that line, I saw that and I was like, that's
insane.
Like, I can't really wrap my head around it.
Yeah.
I'm like, huh.
Posthumous was aloof. No, he wasn't really aloof, but you are you've got this figure in your head. But then he says, I used to be embarrassed of brothers reduced to that do you like rap hustle. He used to be embarrassed of that guy, but he's kind of turned that hustle of the guy who everyone knows outside of every gig. He's going to be there with his CDs. And what I love is Woods has kind of made it a pioneering record label career. And there's a lot of these guys, you know, who I know just ended up working at B&Q because, you know, that's just their thing. And that was mad. That was mad to be like, oh yeah, Woods was out there. Woods was out there doing
that's something that like anyone who's grown up in a city where rap is a thing, like those guys, and it's always like that line to me like hit like a ton of bricks, because I remember walking around and dude just being like, yo, you like hip hop? And I have to be like, no.
Oh no.
Because it's like being like, yo, you like food? I'm like, yeah, here, try this food. And I'm like, what is it? I'm like, it's just food I made. And I'm like, like that's how crazy you like hip hop is.
Yeah.
It's an asinine psycho thing that only works on like tourists and like children.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So like and to be embarrassed, and I was always embarrassed of them, but more so I hated them. Because they're kind of like the people like ASPCA people in the street who are like, hey, you got a minute to talk about, you know, great charity, but like I'm like, no, I don't have a minute to talk to you on the street.
Yeah,
like, leave me alone. Like they were so annoying, and like that line, I was like, dude, someone had to talk about this. I bet he could make a whole song about them.
Yes,
it is a fascinating time. And when CDs died out, those guys are like, shit.
Oh shit. Yeah. What do we do? Yeah, what do we do?
Spam your fucking Instagram.
That's what it is, and they are still around. Those are those guys now. Those are the guys on my DMs who are hitting me up. But yeah, no, but you know, fair play. You got the grind is the grind. But yeah, if you interrupted my day on down the street, I absolutely feel you. There's two other references here, Blockhead, that you probably may have got the MF Doom one. I hadn't, and it did take me a bit of a minute digging into all of these Doom references, which is so convoluted and complex. But before that one, I want to go to the Shine reference with you. There's the Shine reference is incredible. Like, listen to that line and you think, oh shit, you know what happened to Shine? Because over here we lose track. We lose track of people who had these moments, and I just forgot about Shine, and the fact that Woods reminded me of Shine, one, and two, to go, oh shit, he converted to. He's an Orthodox Jew now. I didn't know this. I didn't know any of the history of Shine.
I think he actually won an office in Jersey or something. In Jersey, maybe?
He was. I've looked it up. Bro. He became a conservative politician in Belize.
He's a conservative. No, but he's in America now, and I think he won some sort of office in either New Jersey or New York. So I forget. I mean, it's a small. It's not like a mayor or anything, but it's like a alderman or like some shit like that. But he won something in on the East Coast.
That's mad to me. That's like just makes my 90s head like twisted. I've got twisted as my melon. It's mad how he does that. It's even more mad is the MF Doom reference, and this may be a reach.
Show me that. I don't know what that is.
Right. So it's this. So it's the moment where he says, "Brazen facts. The next nice neighborhood I moved to, you lot get first crack." Right. And then he talks about Van Peebles and his film, The Watermelon Man, and you're like, "Oh, okay. So what's this?" And then I dug into that line, And yes, it is genius, so it could be a load of bullshit. But I like to believe the bullshit sometimes because I've got nothing else at home that makes me this excited. But apologies to my wife and son. But sometimes I need to hear these little weird thingies. But it is actually quite true, though, I feel, because it's Deep Fried Friends, Doom. So it says here, so it's a brazen facts. The next nice neighborhood I move to, you lot get first crack, right? That's from the Doom Deep Fried reference is, fellas, don't be silly. I know who my friends are. And the next nice neighborhood I move into, you guys will get crack. Do you remember that reference on Deep Fried Friends from Doom?
Oh, no, I don't know. Yeah, that one doesn't, I guess I don't. That line.
So that skit in Deep Fried Friends off Food, he has, it's from The Watermelon Man, which is a Mario Van Peebles.
Obviously. Yeah.
And then you have the Watermelon Man in there. And then you have that. And I think Doom had admitted you lot get first crack. And Doom had done a bit of Doom shit and been like, no, you lot get crack. And then, then Woods brings it back to you lot get first crack. And I'm like, wait. How deep is Woods operating here? Because
that's pretty deep.
That's the strongest weed I've ever heard of. That he then takes a skit from a Doom song and completely reimagines it into this song.
I mean, that's crazy. I didn't know that connection at all. But I mean, I know the Watermelon Man and Van Peebles reference.
Yes,
but that's crazy. Yeah,
If you listen to Deep Fried Friends, you will get that. And
talk another one up for Woods.
Another one up for Woods. Unless I'm being wrong and people come at me with their pitchforks. So let's go.
It would be weirdly. It would be too convenient otherwise. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I meant. I do try to hold myself back sometimes, Blockhead. I'm not like, I don't think, people who read things into it, but that one I was just unpacking. I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. But look, the song is, we've talked about Woods, we've talked about the song. I can't have you on the pod and not really actually talk to you about your work, and especially what you've just come out with as well. And a bit of a quick fire round for you, because it is a 90s podcast we do. So I thought, let's do a few 90s questions that we ask, some of the heads who have grown up in that time as well. Before we do that, though, I can just give you a heads up or big up on, you talked about Central Park earlier, and it just reminded me of Dow Candy and how much I love Central Park. That one song always hit me like it had a spirit of 90s rap in it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that musically, the drums were more 2000-ish to me. Like they were kind of like almost like H to the Izzo drum. Like they kind of sound like Kanye drums to me a little bit.
Yeah,
but on a sample level, like yes, like it was kind of I totally. And
to hear you guys do something like that, and I know it's quite old now, but at the time it felt like, oh, these are my people, but they are just doing something completely different with it. So thank you for
updated version of bullshit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's incredible. Absolutely. So what we've got here on 90s hip hop, let's some of these are absolutely nonsense actually, but we're going to go through them. What is the best and worst hip hop merch you've bought?
I was the best merch I ever bought was a De La Soul's Dead shirt that lasted me like 10 years. It's gone, but and the best merch I was given was I knew this guy who worked for Capitol Records, and he sent me an AC Alone All Balls Don't Bounce shirt, and it was like a check on the front that said, and it had like it was so dope, and I again, it's that was in the 90s, so it's like it's dirt, it's dust now. I was never a big merch guy though. Like I really didn't buy a lot of rap stuff. As far as worst goes, like I don't know. Yeah, I don't really. I mean, aside from like shitty beefy tees that just fit weird.
Yeah, those still exist.
There's so many of those I don't even know which one I could really point to. But I've never really. I'm not like a collector. In a lot of ways. I never was a guy who got like all the shirts and stuff. But when I did buy a shirt, I really meant it.
It meant something.
Like I have a G Dep shirt. You were talking about this kind of something you mentioned earlier about like the backwoods merch and stuff, and Biggie merch that you couldn't get back in the day. Do you know that now if you Google any rapper's name and shirt, there will be shirts? Just like someone makes them. And I got a G-Dep shirt in the last like 5 years that I love. And it's like the postal, it looks like the American postal sign, but it says G-Dep.
That's amazing.
I was like, I'd like a G-Dep shirt.
That is mad to me that you could just get anyone's shirt now.
Any album cover, like they all exist. I mean, they might not be the best quality, but like if you want a shirt for a rapper that you love, like there's a billion Silk the Shocker shirts. There's I mean, there's like any. I'm talking about any rapper.
I can't believe we live in a world where there's a million Silk the Rocker.
Yeah, I do nowadays. I look for really obscure rappers that I want. Oh, I just remember the best shirt I ever got.
Okay, let's go.
I have a Tim Dog shirt.
Oh,
and I got it from like a skate shop in like '94. And it was like, and I still have it. I wonder. I mean, I'm not going to go look for it, but it is just the shadowed face of Tim Dog from the Penicillin on Wax cover.
No way, with the shades.
No word, just the face, just his face. But it's a blue, and I still have it because I didn't wear it for years for whatever reason, and I wear it still. And
wow.
that is my favorite. And Tim Dog's, Penicillin on Wax is a big album for me. So I that one.
Deep pull. I'm so glad I asked that question because now I get to think about Tim Dog, and I don't do that enough. I have to say, in my life, there's not enough. Penicillin on Wax is a great little hidden gem. We talk about these hidden gems of the 90s that sometimes get a bit lost. And I mean, not to us, but just in the grander scale of things. Like I was like,
I'm all about those. That's my wheelhouse is obscure, weird 90s rap like that. And also, by the way, Tim Dog had the craziest life. And if they made a documentary about him, like his second act of being a fucking like a swindler of women. Like, I mean, you look into there was a 2020 episode about Tim Dog robbing older women by dating them, and it's crazy.
Wait.
Like look into Tim Dog. Okay. Look into it.
That is
it would be a fantastic documentary.
Bro, I'm trying to get over Shine still, and now you're dropping Tim Dog as
a whole other world because he was doing some wild shit, and you're just like, yo, crazy
shit, man. I just remember them videos, man. That man was hench. He was absolutely hench, absolutely. So there we go. Now we've got Tim Dog on the menu. Big up all those people, AG Showbiz, Diamond D, all those peeps out there that were putting in work. Absolutely. Here we go then. What are the things you don't miss from the 90s rap game?
What era? Like, are we talking all the 90s or like the
eras you experienced, maybe?
Parts of the 90s. Honestly, I don't think, like, when I look back at the 90s, I don't miss every album having a house song on it. I don't miss every album having a reggae song on it. Like when they were just, like pandering to those two things. Mm-hmm. Like I hated those. I hated that. I remember just being like, oh, the reggae song. Like I just remember like fast forward.
Yeah.
But even when I look back at like the pop rap of the late 90s, like the Mason and Bad Boy stuff, like some of that shit aged incredibly well. For like when I hated it at the time. Like I remember being like, oh, fucking Mace. Like if I listen to Mace's first album now, I'm like, this has joints. And Mace is kind of an entertaining rapper. Whereas like in 2006, I could not say the same thing about like the rap that was coming out popularly then. And granted, there's always good stuff, but like you never realize how not bad something is until it gets really bad. And then like, oh, that was actually good. Like, and like It Feels So Good comes on. I'm like, all right.
Oh yeah. She
kind of awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I don't miss is the terrible reggae and house.
I feel that. Yeah, the formula. There was a formula, and LL is the formula. That guy knows exactly how to approach the game. Absolutely. Here's one then. If you could be a fly on the wall, any 90s studio session, which one are you picking and why?
Easy. ODB's second album. Is that from the 90s?
I think it's just on the verge, maybe, but I'm going to allow it.
I have heard stories about it, and it sounds like the most chaotic album ever made. Like he literally would come in, do like 2 lines of verses and leave, and then come back. And basically Pharrell had to cobble it all together to make it a cohesive album.
Yes.
And I would that's a fascinating album to me. I think NWA's post Ice Cube album.
Yes.
F4, we'll call that FL4 Zaggin.
For Zaggin.
For purposes.
Yes.
I thought that they really dropped the ball in the NWA movie, not talking more about that album's creation, because like that was a humongous album. And also it's the best NWA album. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. Listen, I love Ice Cube, but like that album is so much better than Straight Outta Compton, in my opinion. Like just on a production level, it's different eras. Like things changed a lot, I think. But it's one of the best produced albums of all time. Ren is in a level that is just transcendent, in my opinion. And Easy and Dre are fine. They're entertaining.
But it's Ren.
But Ren is the guy. Ren is so good on that album. But I would love to see more about how that album was made, because I think that it got glossed over so terribly in the NWA movie. Yeah,
they didn't do anything on it, I think, at all. But I think It's Always Into Something is the one that just still bumps. That just it's so hard still.
There's so many. There's so many, and even the B-side where it gets all like gross and sexual. There's still bangers on the B-side.
That's what I probably don't miss, is the kind of blowjob skits. No one needs.
Blowjob skits. Yeah, I don't ever need to hear anyone. I don't think we need to hear anyone bragging about getting their dick sucked in a non-funny way. I'm all for funny sex rhymes, but like if you're like earnestly being like, yo, I got my dick sucked.
Guess what? Guess what, guys?
You're a fucking loser.
Guess what, guys? You won't believe it. But it did feel
girl so good. Like, oh, did you? Cool. Yeah.
This sounds like a skit. This sounds like someone out there should be doing this as a skit, because it needs to be said. Again, maybe it takes a Woods pointing the finger a little bit and shining his light on one of these things. But yeah, I don't think
he's going to touch it.
He's not going to touch that. He's not going to touch that at all. Here we go then. If you could, I'm going to shorten these a little bit, because I actually want to talk to you a bit more about the Orcs as well. Let's just talk about the Orcs, actually, because we've got a 90s reference right there.
I love these questions. I'm not going to lie. I'm all in on these questions. I don't ever get to talk about old rap, so it's kind of
okay. Well, here's one then. It's a personal favorite of mine, because I love flutes and xylophones in hip hop. So I have, and I'm talking to the man who also seems to, like, we've all heard Slippery Slope, and we all know that these little moments that exist, like even in subtle ways. I love a flute. I love a xylophone. For you, what is some of the best examples of flute in hip hop? Doesn't have to be 90s.
There is one of my favorite flute beats of all time is Dead Prez's Happiness. That is an incredible loop. That is, the thing about flutes is that I have been a long time proponent of flutes. I've been sampling flutes so much so in my early career that people are like, you sample too many flutes. Like I literally in comments, people are like, what are all this flutes and shit? On the first couple of Aesop's album, there's flutes on like 70% of the songs.
Yeah.
And the reason being that like I had a bunch of albums of flutes and they're really good for layering. It's that simple. They're airy. They're not tied into a time signature. Like they match well. This is before I had Ableton and time stretching, and so it was just an easy thing to that, and voices were always very easy to kind of intermingle with layering. So when flutes got popular again because of Mask Off by Future, I was like, hey, fuck you guys. I'm not going to say I was the first person to sample flute, because that's insane, but I was the first person to sample a lot of flutes.
Yeah. I'm the flute master, is what you're trying to say.
I definitely don't take credit for popularizing flutes, because I know that Metro Boomin has never heard of Blockhead beat. but I do think that I was early on flutes, and I'm still on flutes. But that said, I can't really think of a lot of beats that are flute based. There's a really, really deep cut is a Stetsasonic song called "You Still Smoking That Shit," and it's like about a minute long, and it's a loop, and it's dead. It's actually one of my favorite Stetsasonic songs, but it's a loop with xylophones and flutes in it, and it's a fantastic, maybe 45-second long song.
Bro, you've hit the jackpot. Xylophones and flute. This is going on the playlist. I've got to bump that. That's amazing.
Everyone listen to that song, because it's like it's it's such an awesome beat. Like it's the craziest loop. I think Prince Paul did it.
Oh.
And Daddy-O kills it on it. Like it's like just a short one verse in and out.
Love that. You brought up Prince Paul, and I'm going to big up my man Dano, who was in the chat earlier, and he brought this one up to me, and I'm actually going to throw it to you now. We have a Wu-Tang Clan series, right? And he was saying, imagine in 94, 96, RZA's like on it. He is like in the mode. But he has like 8 MCs to kind of cater for, right? And some of those albums we never got. Deck, yeah. I wish we got that album. But
yeah,
he then has all this slate of artists. He goes to Prince Paul because they're working on Gravediggers together. It's a bit of a what-if scenario. Goes in and says, look, Paul, help me out. I've got all these. Can you take one of these artists and produce an album for them with the Wu kind of sound and ethos in there? Which artist from the Wu around that era would you have liked to hear a Prince Paul kind of project with?
I mean, I kind of think Deck.
Really?
I think I mean, like the thing is that Paul made beats that were like kind of at times whimsical, and there's nothing whimsical about the Wu-Tang Clan, really. I mean, Method Man a little bit, but I don't think Method Man would have. I mean, actually, listen. If you can let Paul remix Tikal, it would be a better album.
I like Tikal.
I never liked Tikal. I thought Tikal was a mess of an album. But
oh shit.
Yeah, it had like 3 good songs in it. Not Method Man. I just thought the beats were like, it's just not my type of beats. It's like kind of like loud and twangy, and I'm like, all right, this is just like,
like, I feel you.
It's like free jazz to me. It's like
well, I was one of them guys who had like enough money for one album as a kid, and in the UK you're not getting them without the HMV kind of import sticker on them. So it was like they were always going to be double the amount, and Meth was like what I bought because I love Meth. So maybe it's just being listening to Tikal and just be, I love this because I bought it. I love this because I spent money and I am putting my time into this, and I can't let it go.
I tried like it was one of those albums that like I was like, I know I like this artist. I love Wu-Tang. I'm missing something. And I kept listening to it, and I just was like, you know what? There's like 3 songs. And it was just the production was not my flavor of beat.
Yes.
It's not bad. It's just not for me. But Prince Paul did that shit.
Yeah. No,
that would have been an amazing album.
Yes.
I would say ODB, but I think ODB is too wild. But I like just Deck spitting over like some very dope samples and layering, and like I could hear that being. I don't know if it really makes sense as like the type of shit he writes, but like, why not?
Why not? This is a what if. It's not real. Yeah. It's fine.
Maybe it would make Deck do some weird shit that we would not expect, which would actually be awesome to hear, because Deck is a very like such a great rapper and straightforward, but like maybe it'd kind of push him to be weird, and that would be kind of nice.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Straight rappers going weird. I need some more of that. Absolutely. So we're going to talk a little bit about like the Orcs as well. We have these 90 references we just talked about. So let's segue. How are you getting Casual to get on the album? Like Hyro, we all know how dope Casual is, but not just like a normal Casual, a really fucking fired up. He's got a rocket up him, and he's like going in on that song. And I was just like, Jesus Christ, he was amazing. But yeah, there we go. Let's start with that.
DM. I got his email. I hit him up. Oh no, I think someone gave me his email. I hit him up. As far as like the quality of it, I don't think Casual writes whack shit. I think Casual he's like one of the few rappers from the early 90s who has like gotten better with time. Like I love Fear itself, but the shit he has done like as a rapper, just straight bars, shits on all his early shit. Like he's so good. Like he's been so good for so long, and he never faltered. And he's just a dude who's kind of knows himself. He's in his bag all the time, and like he's just a really really good rapper.
Yeah, no, that's a good way of putting it.
That's why I wanted him on the album, because I was like, I love Casual. Never worked with anyone from Hyro personally.
All right.
And I obviously I grew up loving Hyro. And I wanted again, he's one of the only rappers from that era that I'm like, you still are great. A lot of guys are still good, but I'm like, you're better. So let me get casual and put him on in this context of a lot of these newer rappers, and because I think he can hold his own, and he did.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, absolutely. It was amazing to hear it. Honestly, is that what aims for the record? Well, when you went in, actually was starting the whole record. Then what was your aim? Like really going in? Was it just to get people that you haven't really worked with together, or was there something else there?
This is an album I always wanted to make. Like I wanted to make a compilation rapper album in like the early 2000s before I knew anybody. I tried one with Free Sweatpants, and that was like half of a album with rappers. And this one, like I talked to Woods, and we're like, let's really do this. And he executive produced, and he helped bring in rappers that I otherwise would have had trouble getting. And I just wanted to, like, I love working with rappers. Like, I listen to rap. I don't listen to instrumental music. I make it, but I don't listen to anything in the genre. So like, it's not like I sit at home and be like, oh, I'm listening to all these instrumental rappers. Like, I mean, instrumental albums, like I'm listening to these are the rappers I'm listening to. Like, this is like, I mean, I didn't get everyone I wanted because I don't, I'm not fucking a billionaire, but but I got a large percentage of the people who I wanted to get on this album. And it's literally like if you look at my current rap playlist on Spotify, like, most of these guys are all over it.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I would say all of them. I mean, for that matter, yeah. It's just like, this is who I like.
Yeah.
And also, it's a means to expose people to some rappers they may not have heard of. It's bringing generations of different rappers together. And also, like, kind of, there was an interview with me where I said, like, I wanted to challenge people, and it got kind of taken out of context where like I was making some like weird avant-garde album. I'm like, no, I want to challenge like the listeners who are stuck in a zone to be like, hey, check out RXK Nephew, or check out fucking Bruiser.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're an Aesop fan? Like, check out Quelle Chris. Like, have you never heard? Like, maybe they've never heard. So, like, it was just me kind of putting all these very weird rappers in one place, because I love weird rappers. Types of rappers.
It's like this kind of synthesis. It's just like a synthesis of your kind of love. It's amazing. It's great.
This is my taste in an album.
Yeah. Yeah. The title, The Orcs, kind of really marries that really well, actually, in a way, because just like, who's got the orcs? Shotgun the orcs, bang, go for
my aunt. This is me. This is me in control of the aughts.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, amazing. You've alluded to that you like rappers and you don't listen to instrumental music now. You've alluded to that you obviously love that wordsmiths. And then you said earlier how that you rapped. You got to tell me about that story before we go any further, then, because first rap
about me rapping.
Yeah, first rap. Do you remember it?
Oh God, no, I don't remember. I wrote my first rap when I was like 12 years old, probably. I mean, that's
okay.
Yeah. I was rapping, in high school. To it's I had this kind. I kind of had like a hip hop mentor.
Right.
This dude, it's a weird story, but this guy used to work in a toy store. And I would go with a friend who would sell him like Japanimation toys and shit like that.
Right.
But he was older. He was like I was like probably 14. And he was like 19 or something like that. And he kind of figured out that I listened to rap. But he's like, oh, and he started like putting me on to shit because he rapped. And so I would just go in there and just chop it up with him about rap, like about hip hop shit, which is really weird to think about now. But like, and eventually, like, he would read his rhymes to me, and I would like be like, oh, try it. Like, I give him punchlines.
Yes.
And then eventually, like, I would give him samples. I had all these like tapes and CDs, and I was like, and he had a producer there. I was like, here's some samples, and they would use the samples that I give them, and that was my intro. Like, I went to the studio with him when I was like 16.
Right.
Is him. And there's all these, like, I was just a little white kid, just like, hey, and just like with a bunch of like adults,
Yeah. Oh my God.
But but I was also big. I wasn't like a little kid. Like, I was I was my size now when I was 16.
Right. Okay. Deceiving.
So I was like, I looked like a more of an adult than I was.
Right.
But and that was kind of my intro to like the idea of writing raps and making music. And eventually I'd be writing punchlines, and I just was like, well, why don't I write whole rhymes? And I did it. And I was never good. I was kind of a punchline rapper, but then I got Lyrical Spiritual Miracle as it went on, as was the era. And I was in a group, and then and there's four of us, and we were like kind of like the White Souls of Mischief wannabes. Like, we were like, but but we sucked. But and then I met Aesop in college, and he was the first rapper. Well, not I'd met another couple rappers like Subcon is a rapper from back in the day who I met who was just like shoulder, and his boy Blue Gems, who actually passed away a couple years ago, but they were in a group called the Foolish Children, and they were the first guys that I was like, oh shit, their beats are dope, and they can actually rap. Like their rap I would listen to, you know?
Right.
But then I met Aesop, the first person I worked with, that I was like, oh, I freestyled with Aesop one of the first times I met him, and I was like, what the fuck is this about? Like, because I was just like, you know, I was just bullshitting, and then this guy's freestyle sound like written, you know?
Yeah.
And it was the first time I'd be like, oh, this is like a real rapper. And then we became friends. And the more I hung out with him, the more I was like, I should make beats, because I'm not. Well, it was kind of just like being a realistic person about it. Like, I'm not going to be a professional rapper. Like, this guy could be a professional rapper. Like, he is on par with people I love. Like as far as skill wise. Whereas I would, you know, if I'd stuck around to like 2002, 2003, when like white backpackerism really kind of took off, I could have carved a niche of like some really low level rap popularity. I could have been one of those guys. Probably.
One of those guys, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I could have been like, I mean, and no disrespect, I could have been like on like the Ugly Duckling level of like popularity, I imagine. Like, you know, I mean, guys that were like a men that just don't really exist anymore.
Yeah.
Probably. But I was like, man, fuck rapping, beats. And I'm also, I don't like performing. I don't like memory. Everything kind of came together for me to be like, nah, I'm not rapping.
Yeah, I'm not going to rap. I feel you. But then obviously, well, hold on then, before we go, rap names though. Blockhead's a great name. Where was that your name from the jump? Did you have any other rap names before that? Oh, right. Okay.
Blockhead was the name from the jump. And it was the era of like self-depreciating names like Fat Lip and
Fat Lip, yeah.
That's always the one I think of. But it was just you know, it was not. It was just I had a big head.
Yeah, I think Shorty Shitstain might be one of the most self-deprecating. It's still
that's a really good.
Yeah, it's still one of the best. Like I can see that guy. I can actually see what he looks like.
The thing about that name is like you're really putting a low ceiling on how much you will write. It's like there's like some like hardcore punk group named Anal Cunt, and I'm like. Guess what? You're never going to be popular because your name's in a fun. But like Shorty Shit same thing. Like you're like,
yeah, there's a level, there's a ceiling, and you'll hit it. Yeah, absolutely, exactly. Amazing. And I referenced earlier about your incredible use of album and song titles. For people who may not know Blockhead's work as well as some others, I am going to list some of my favourites here for you. Insomniac Olympics. Great work there. I'm enjoying that one. Probably my favourite, and it's such a good song as well. Your Mom is Mad High. It always gets me. I don't know. You have to tell me some of the stories to some of these because that is amazing. Your Mom is Mad High. Love that one.
Well, I mean, Insomniac Olympics is really just like a word association because there's something about the piano that made me think about not sleeping, and the horn feels Olympic.
Boom.
And I'm a person who definitely is not the best sleeper. I don't know if I'm an insomniac, but like I definitely, especially at that time. I mean, I was like in my 20s when that happened. So when I made that, so like
yeah,
I was out. You know,
you were out about absolutely.
So I wasn't sleeping well, and it just with all the names they always come after.
Oh really?
I mean, Insomniac Olympics is different because like my first record. The process was different. Everything was different about that. But like once I kind of settled into like really getting stupid with the time, I think around Uncle Tony's coloring book is when I was like, oh, I'm going to be ridiculous with these titles because they can be anything. Yeah. Then I would really kind of like I'd make a song, step back, and be like, what is this? Like, what's the story here? And I like the idea of every song kind of telling a story in a way. Because it takes you to different places and it kind of guides you. And Your Mom's Mad High. Just
sounded like
that sounds like a mom high.
And that's why it works. Absolutely, yeah. But we have a few more here. Simple one, but I still really I like it. Let Them Eat Hate is always good. I like that, especially as English. Let them eat cake. We have a lot of that going on.
That
here.
was Mark Speck's name, though. He came up with that.
Aha.
Mark Speck. Yeah. Well, with rappers, I generally like to let them title the songs, and often, but there's a couple on the new one that I named because they just were like, oh, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, right. So like Tupac Jackets was a Woods thing then?
Woods comes up with the names of his songs always. Like I've never. Although he did name like I name my beats when I make them, and he has named a couple songs after the name of the beat. Like Fall Back was called Fall Back. I can't remember any others, but yeah, like he there have been times where he has named them typically. But as far as the crazy names,
yes,
those are be bugging out.
Okay, and again, shout out for probably my favorite, because it is this kind of, again, it's like a bit like a Woods lyric. It would, if you know, but you have a track called "By Myself Meeting."
Yeah.
Which is what it's on. I think it's on Free Sweatpants. That is the best Capadonna like kind of reference I've ever heard. And I was like, this is, oh my God, it's it's one of my favorite hip hop lines as well. Is he sat there dwelling about violence in it by himself? His mates were probably there with him, but he's like, no, guys, I'm in a meeting, a by myself meeting. And I love
every evening I have a by myself meeting.
every evening.
Obviously, that line is what the song is from. It's a phrase that I've used on social media, like for memes and stuff like that, because it's so specific. And I'm someone who is very independent. I am alone as much as I can allow myself to be. I'm not like a chef, but I enjoy my time alone. So like a by myself meeting is a very relatable concept to me. And and I couldn't wait to name something that.
I'm so glad we can get down this rabbit hole. I mean, I'm sure you've had interviews where people are talking to you about, just your career. But I'm here sitting thinking, I get talking about Capadonna. This is amazing. I love this.
I'd much rather talk about that.
But I was going to actually say then, let's round this off then. A few last questions for you to kind of cap this. And the Woods love has been real. For the Wu-Tang love then, Capadonna, we've had a reference. Another great segue. Let's go in this. It's most slept on Wu-Tang banger or song for you?
Hollow Bones.
Oh, yes.
I don't know if it's slept on, but like that is my favorite post-peak Wu-Tang song. And everyone on that song is incredible.
Yeah.
Every single verse on that song is just like that one or Projects. Those two. But I would say Hollow Bones. Hollow Bones is the one that, like, if you put it on any playlist, I'll listen to it forever. Like I'm not a nostalgic guy, and like I kind of like burnt out a lot of old rap to myself because I listen to it so much. But there's some songs that kind of keep me. I can always go back to them, and there's something just so dynamic about the rapping on that song. It's like a sample I know. It's a famous sample. But it's also like predates no drum rap. Like it's kind of like Rock Marciano beat for Rock Marciano.
Yeah.
And RZA, by the way, is the guy. Like he did that. He was the first guy to do that with any consistency.
Yeah.
Like 96 Mentality was the same thing.
96 Mentality, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think North Star maybe that I don't know.
Yeah. No, he did it like 4 or 5 times, like way back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a whole list of those different people that had done it. I did a Twitter thing where I just was like listing people who did like drumless beats before the popularity of them, and it was almost overwhelming because I kept being like, oh, there's that, and to this day I'll be like, oh, that song, yeah, like it's.
I mean, I haven't had the evidential proof that you've got like to do it all like that way, but in my mind, I was always like, there has been a massive backlash back in the day. Probably still to this day, of the old boom bap, crusaders who are like, oh, it needs drums, otherwise it's incomplete. One of them is a guest on the show regularly, and he's caught astray there, but he deserves it because I feel like, but this has always been part. It's just someone's kind of extended it and kind of morphed it into something else now. But it's always been a part, though, hasn't it? Like, yeah, this is one of the reasons I love beat tapes. Back in the day as well.
One of the earliest ones I can think of is X-Clan "Verbs of Power" off their first album, and like that was always my favorite song on that album. And again, there's drums in the sample, but it's not drum heavy. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
or like Let Off a Couple by the Beat Nuts. Like there was like all these kind of just like they're just loops. And like, that's what people do now.
Yeah.
And like, and I understand the backlash to it, but I also think people are just too extreme in all the stances they take, because there is plenty of drumless rap that's awesome.
Yeah.
And plenty of it that is like uninteresting bullshit. So it's like,
yeah,
there's both, you know, there's good and bad to it. And listen, bap drums, same thing. Like there's good rap that has fucking old break beats in it, and then there's some shit that you're like, wow, this sounds like the billion things I've heard before.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's good and bad and everything.
Do you ever see that manifesting in like your expectations from your fans? Like, do you ever see, I don't know, do they ever complain and shit about, because your music's very varied, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I try to keep it, like, I'll use like break beats, I'll use no drums, I'll use trap drums, like I whatever I can get my hands on, I don't really care. Like, it's all just pet. I definitely know when I released, when we released Jazz Hands with Aesop as the first single and had no drums on it, people were like, what the fuck? This album better not. Like, people like really got upset about it. Oh, no. And we put the drums at the end as a kind of like, ha. Oh, shit. I'm like, oh, I bet you wish these were going the whole time. But I mean, it also like it just adds this thing when like he's just kicking this crazy long verse and then the drums and they just come in.
Yeah.
It just it hits harder that way. But I mean that there's just a lot of shitty rap dialogue online, and like it's people who are either too old to get what's going on, new things, or too young to have perspective about what was happening before them. Yeah. I'm old, but I'm also a move forward person. Like I've never been a let me rest on my, you know, nostalgic person. So like, but I also, you know, listen, there's rap that I'm like, it's not for me. I'm too old for this.
Yeah.
Like I accept that it's not for me. And that's, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Just accept it's not for them, other than just like shitting on it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. So to wrap it up, we do have a few Patreon questions. One of the main ones that everyone kept asking was, will there be another collaboration with Woods at some point? And if so, you know, how are you feeling about it? Or is it more kick it down the line kind of thing?
I mean, we haven't spoke about it, but I mean, like Woods and I are friends. I love working with Woods. I mean, I would do it in a heartbeat. You know, I mean, he's like, so he has so many things working at all times. It's kind of, and also I there's a part of me that's like, I think he's also a forward moving person.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, he's trying to do new shit and not go back to old shit.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Woods is the person that I will work with for as long as I make beats, you know, whether it be a track here and there or an album, but like, you know, it's you know, he's my man, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a beautiful thing to just see you drop just little collaborations. You say little and big, it doesn't matter. It's just great. It just all adds to the tapestry. It's just little threads going in and out. And it's great. It's a beautiful thing to see. Is there anything then that you want to like kind of plug? Is there anything coming up next? What can we look forward to, touring or anything like that?
I have I have a single dropping on February 9th, I think. Mm-hmm. It's for this project I did with KPM Records. The album is called Luminous Rubble, and it's like a bunch of basically KPM is like the music for film and TV, and they have a huge library. Any sampling person knows what KPM Records is, because it's like it's if you see a KPM record in the bin, you're like, I'm buying. You know, you're buying it because it's
okay. So
they open their vaults to me and they're like, make songs. So I made it's like an 8-song EP. I think it's 8, maybe 10. I don't know. But that's the first single that drops in a couple weeks.
Wicked.
And then the album drops, I think I want to say May, but maybe before that.
Nice. No, wicked.
I have to look at my thing. But that's the next thing.
Sorry, I was going to say, is it instrumental then, or is it just straight?
Oh, yeah, it's instrumental, and it's not like the songs aren't like 8 minutes long. Like it's more just like it's like a beat tape kind of. But nice. I mean things change, you know, they're like 2.5, 3 minutes long songs. Kind of, I did something similar with DeWolf Records a couple years back, and so it's in that vein. Just kind of I'd say less. It's more all over the place than the DeWolf. The DeWolf was very this is for. This is more just like here's some weird beats I made.
Love that shit. Yeah, let's get weird. Always love to get a bit weird.
Yeah,
definitely. So. Last one then to end it all. The last great piece of music you heard, Blockhead? Could be old, could be new. What was just the last great piece you heard?
I'm obsessed with the new Tierra Whack song.
Oh, I've not heard it.
The shower song.
Right.
It's like the cutest song ever made, and she's so awesome.
Yes.
I mean, she's a person like, man, I would kill to work with Tierra. I mean, like, it will never happen, but like, she's so awesome, and she's also like an incredibly good rapper. Like, she is like so slept on because she does all these things. But her new song, I think it's called Shower Song, is like the song that I have been listening to a lot, and it's like again, minute and a half long, short, little cute song.
Love that.
Big fan of that one, right?
Okay, love that. Yeah, I will check that out. Maybe it's an album coming out then. Maybe she's got some new. Music.
Also, the new Bruiser Wolf album is incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Love.
Yes, definitely love that. I love that. Look, we got these characters, man. That's what I love right now. We have these characters just littered at the moment, and Stove God to Woods to Navy Blue. Yeah, amazing. And you're right in the middle of it, my man. And it's beautiful. But thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much for jumping on. It's been just amazing to chat about this. The doors are always open if you ever want to come back on again. And yeah, man, just keep smashing it, my man, and just keep pushing. Keep pushing. Absolutely. Well, have a good day, and I shall catch you soon, my mate. Okay.
Right.
Peace.